Welcome back, everybody, to the Who Do You Like Here podcast. Joey C-Note returning back. Kid's still on hiatus for probably another week, maybe two. With me, special guest Barry Sniper Spears joining us. Barry, thank you so much for joining the podcast this week.
Thank you for having me. You guys are always fun and stuff on social media, and you guys make good picks. So why not join you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let's keep that trend going this week. We are going to cap a great card, all stakes race, late pick 5 at Gulfstream, finishing up with the Florida Derby, which we're definitely going to talk about and get into a little more detail. Before we go into itinerary, before we go through what we're going to cover today, question for you. So I believe for the Florida Derby and Kentucky Derby, I'm a big fan of the Florida Derby. You're from Florida. I know Tampa is mainly your main track. Um, Florida Derby produced like 25 Kentucky Derby winners. And I've always said, this goes back, decades ago when I first started watching horse racing. It seems like the I don't know if it's the track or the way it's set up, or maybe it's just a 5-week nice spread between the Florida Derby and the Kentucky Derby that lends so well for so many winners. What's your opinion on, and is it the Florida Derby that you kind of target for your Derby pick?
Um, it's always hard to tell. I mean, it's sort of the luck of the draw of where all the good horses end up and whose barn is as to where the stronger preps are. This year, it seems like I'd say probably Oaklawn is a little bit stronger. Uh,
Okay.
but typically, the Florida Derby does produce really good runners year after year because you have the big outfits here like Chad Brown and Todd Pletcher, Bill Mott really always have a mainstay there, and they're always in the mix. So the Florida Derby is usually a really good gauge of the field or what the field is going to look like in the Derby, and I think it's important as well. Like you noted, the timing of the race is perfect for the Derby.
Yeah, I think that actually plays more into it. So you also have Arkansas Derby. We've seen in recent years here the Jeff Ruby Stakes produce a winner on a long shot, no less. But I just think that time frame when you get some of these horses early on in the Derby prep races that win, they still got one more race that they're targeting prior to going in. And I think the timing when you're talking about getting the Florida Derby, it just suits well for that 5-week period of getting ready, the transition, the travel and whatnot. So I'm a big fan of the Florida Derby. I think we might see. I don't know if we're going to see the winner of the Kentucky Derby. I'm not convinced that we will see how the race goes, but I think we're going to see a horse that's definitely going to be competitive come first Saturday in May.
Yeah, the right now the picture is kind of murky, so we need somebody to step up other than, like Cole Battle, who is really kind of, I would think, on top with journalism. So
Mhm.
besides those two, everybody's kind of the same. So we need somebody to separate themselves a little bit.
Absolutely. We got some races to recap from last week. We were on the hiatus for March Madness, so we're going to go ahead and kind of bring and do a little recap for what we missed last week coming into the prep races. So we're going to recap the Jeff Ruby Stakes, and then we'll also recap the Louisiana Derby. Both of those top two winners. We want to make sure we have a little discussion on that. We'll watch the race replays. A few things in a couple of these races I think that are maybe key looking forward here for Derby Day. And then we're going to go ahead and look at the current standings, and then we'll go ahead and cap that late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park. So let's go ahead and start it off here with the Jeff Ruby Stakes. And I got to say that having the week off, I wasn't really targeted. I watched very minimal on the horse racing last week, but uh, I always love Turfway. I don't know if you're a Turfway fan, but the prices are always big at Turfway.
Absolutely. I love Turfway. It's one of the better tracks to play for that reason. A lot of lower level type horses, and it's kind of a free for all.
Yeah, I think the fields are full. You've got a lot of. It's a great colony of the. I don't want to say second tier because I'm not trying to disrespect any jockeys there, but a lot of those top level second tier jockeys are always seem to be in this meet, and you really do get good prices. Everyone's always trying with everything they got. It's a very good track to bet for wagering, and the Jeff Ruby was no different here. Final Gambit winning that race, going off at 15-1. You had Flying Mohawk come in second, and Maximum Promise here. Good payouts all over. I mean, you get yourself a nice, just shy of $300 exacta in this race. But let's go ahead and watch this race. We'll bring it up here. We'll do a little replay. So the winner is your 4. Second place was the 5. And when I watched the beginning of this race, I'm noticing that the 4 pretty much got taken out from the get right out the gates, and had to pull back. This is going to be a come from behind win that you're going to see here very shortly. So 4, the gray horse. 3 comes over, takes them kind of right out of the race immediately, but saves some ground, obviously, and gets to the rail here shortly. But this is going to be another one of these come from behind kind of wins. You can see right there, fading all the way to dead last. So Kentucky Derbies have in the past been more forwardly placed horses, either horses on the front trying to wire the field, or at least a horse that can be near the front and start making their move, on that final turn heading to that long Churchill stretch. Anything you noticed in this race specifically? I mean, we're looking at the winner here is off the screen right now, about 15 foot.
Yeah, I don't think that was the plan to be that far back, but the rider did a good job of staying patient and getting the horse back into position. You can see the horse really never got out of the screen.
Right.
And there's no panic there. The horse is kind of doing it on his own and had enough run in the end to kind of swoop past everybody. It was a little surprising, because of the connections. You would never think a Juddmonte Brad Cox horse would go off that long, and
Yeah.
this is what happens.
He finally gets a little run here. I mean, Charlie's to blame finally starts to fade out here. That was the rabbit you knew you were going to get. California Burrito, the one that actually took out the 4 a little bit at the start, gets the lead and almost looks commanding here, like drawing away. I thought at the top of the stretch when I'm watching this that it looked like it was in the clear. Now, the 3 is going to stumble a little bit right here.
Yeah.
And I think that's right where the gate was positioned, that little indentation. I think the horse hesitated, or maybe the 3 would have lasted. But there's your winner. Final Gambit just running them down in the stretch, about 9 wide coming off the top of the stretch with a pretty convincing win. Now, mind you, that was Luan Machado. So I don't think he was going to pull up earlier on the finish line in that race. By no means. He probably kept going for another 16th of a mile to make sure.
Yeah, got to get that 1.25 miles on Derby Day, so ride him out.
That's right. That's right. Make sure you and the gallop out looked good as well. So I'm sure Luan was not going to stop until somebody came abreast of him after the fact. But so that was your Jeff Ruby, and again, it's not a prep race that I hold a lot of stock in, but I'm starting to take a little more notice and more recently in horses that have come off this synthetic and now are going to the dirt. But it takes a special horse to be able to win those races.
Well, the running style fits. I mean, we've had Rich Strike and Animal Kingdom out of that race, so it's not impossible. And those are fairly recent winners, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Rich Strike is, of course, but Animal Kingdom is recent enough. And if you go back through the history, those horses that ran in the Ruby Stakes and then ran in the Derby didn't run all that badly. So those horses are definitely going to be on my radar come Derby Day, because they could fall asleep at the wheel again and Final Gambit be just kind of one of those closing types that gets a good trip and shows up somewhere.
Yeah. And I would say Animal Kingdom didn't have, to my memory, didn't have terrible dirt races. I don't think Rich Strike had the best dirt races comparing the 2.
Well,
I think that's why he went off at 75-1.
Rich Strike broke his maiden. I think he won by Ed Churchill by like 15 or 16 lengths, which kind of stands out. I mean, anytime you see horses win like that, even in a maiden race, it does stand out a bit that the horse has some talent, and it just showed itself. But I think he was just more of a victim of his running style. He didn't really want to get involved too early, so his career was kind of lackluster, to say the least.
Yeah, agreed. The Louisiana Derby also ran last week with Tistastic winning this race. I got to be honest with you, this race was kind of a bettor's dream. Odds on favorite 5-1, which was Tistastic, I think, at the time. So to see such a wide open race and the finish that we did, still finished out kind of like systematically as how you would think, but Tistastic winning this race again from an off the pace kind of move, more of a deep close, even a deeper close in this race that we'll get to take a look at. And the fractions in both these races were pretty early on, pretty fast, I'd say, in the early stages. So it was just after the break here. You can see the 3 is sitting back just next to last at the rail, and similar, both these horses running fairly easy. The big takeaway for me in this race, John Hancock going to the front, not as much a surprise to me at all. The fractions, here we go, 22 and 9, and I believe we get a 46 and change half, right around that same pace. But your 2-to-1 favorite just really struggles getting to the top of the turn. I don't know if that's in
Yeah, I think
case
he went
from
too fast. He was really motoring.
yeah.
22:46. It was easily the fastest splits he's ever going this far, and it did him in. I kind of had the idea that Built was going to run well in this race, and I thought that horse did. Just kind of was stuck on the rail in a bad spot and had to make the move a little bit too early. I think that's a horse that I'm going to really keep a close eye on closer to Derby Day.
I really like the move here by Built. I'm at this point. I'm thinking I'm a big Built fan. I think the way that he's moved steadily, he gets off the rail and he's finally got some clearing to run at. I was really surprised. I think we're finding some distance limitations here
Yeah,
for Built. Is what I'm thinking. Is that
maybe.
this? Yeah,
I think he just moved a little early, personally,
okay.
because you know how he kind of finished um, not too far behind John Hancock, because John Hancock comes back.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
I mean, listen, he's
finishes.
a little green too. They're all green. You see them starting to veer towards the rail here in the stretch. Their heads are kind of swinging all over. Um,
Yeah, it's encouraging. I like when horses lose races like this and then come back.
yeah.
Um, especially with that middle move, because they're going to be fitter naturally the next time, just that much, and that might make all the difference. I recall Funny Side having a sort of same kind of run in the Wood Memorial before he ended up winning the Derby. I think he lost to, was it Tappet? No, he lost that race, but he fought and got past late and kind of faded, and that's what rose his price in the Derby. And people kind of dismissed him because he had a run similar to what Built had.
Yeah.
And I like those kind of runs because it means that they're going to move forward, if they are going to move forward the next time. And that's what you'll see. Built,
Yeah.
I think, is talented enough, alongside everybody else, that this horse might be okay,
Okay.
depending on how, the draw and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot to go
Yeah.
in it, but I do like the way that horse has run and kind of grown a little bit along this trail.
I wouldn't argue that. I think I've been big on Built for its last 3 races, and I'd say the last 2 were a little more disappointing. This one's a little more disappointing than the previous. I mean, this horse has been predominantly at fairgrounds here, and that is the track. I think they've changed jockeys a couple of times here too, with kind of playing with Loveberry and taking him on and off the mount. I'm sure there was some other decisions here. Talking to
Yeah.
Jared, it wasn't his decision to not have the mount on Built 2 races back, but again, I think maybe we're looking at distance. Maybe it's just maybe he did move too early, but as I said, for the Derby, I want to see someone that can make that move on the turn, just like he did, and still have that sustainability. So, and with 20 horses, it's going to get real crowded, and you really got to carve your way out. You got to get a lot of luck in your route and running in the big races.
Yeah, you got to have a clean trip. That's really the main thing, and that's kind of the toughest part of all. And jockeys do make a difference in a race like that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it can make all the difference, and you'll see all the great ones that have won it in the past. That's speaks for itself. The payouts here, $17 for Tistastic, pretty good price for I guess what was 8-1 originally morning line, but I think was very close. I think Caldera was the other horse that didn't hit the board. Chunk of Gold second, Instant Replay third. John Hancock does come back and get about a length past Built for the 4th running there, grabbing out some points. And speaking of points, let's go ahead and take a look at the current standings here for the Kentucky Derby. A lot of recent bias here with Tistastic and Final Gambit, leading your points after winning both of those races as we just covered. Chunk of Gold and Cold Battle, as you said, off the air, and I think we talk a little bit about it. You're getting more of the public hype coming from Cold Battle.
Yeah. And rightfully so. It's a great story. The horses run good. People like to root for Lonnie Briley. I know I am. It'd be nice for that horse to win, and it's a pretty cool story. So, I think that one will get a lot of attention on Derby Day, no matter what.
Yeah.
Whatever his chances really are, I think he's going to be below or kind of underlaid in that sense. But
Hmm.
this is a really closely matched group.
Agreed. Agreed. More so, I think this year than in recent years. And I think
Mhm.
you can make an argument for anybody on this board. We're going to see a few of them run this week. We're going to see Connecticut Road run. We're going to see Sovereignty. They're both going to be running here. So some of these are going to add some points to it, obviously, after this weekend. And I think you're going to get a little more closer numbers, especially near the top five here as we move forward. So it's a good group. Right there at the end, Sandman, another one that's going to be running that needs to make a big move and needs to get a better trip than what Sandman's been getting.
Full disclosure, I do like Sandman this weekend.
You have what?
I do like Sandman this weekend.
Okay.
I
I do
like that
too.
horse. Yeah.
Can he get just
Uh,
a good trip and show really how he can, win a race?
yeah, I think those bad trips have helped him out. Got him a little battle tested experience, and I think he's ready to break through.
That's a great point because it's going to be battle tested if you get the bad start to be able to recover from it. It's one horse that definitely has showed that he can make up the ground and make up a bad start. So yeah, that's your field. We'll talk more on it, but we started doing this about 2 months ago, January, beginning of February or so, and you can't talk Derby that early. Now it's starting to develop into something that I'm getting excited about as we start creeping in the first week of April coming up. So, well, let's go ahead and just get into our handicapping. We'll see what we come up with for this week for the Florida Derby. What do you think of the card overall for Saturday?
It's a great card. It's a marathon card, but it's pretty good. All the races are competitive. It doesn't look like it's going to be a chalk fest. There's a couple of favorites that you might not be able to get around, but not many. So I would hope, or I'm hoping that it plays a lot like it did on Pegasus Day, where everybody had a real fair shot and there was some good racing and not a whole lot of chalk. There was a little bit in there, but it was a good day.
Yeah, I feel it's competitive as you're going to get on Florida Derby Day than in recent years, and I never handicap with odds. I don't let that influence me. So sometimes my picks can be all over the place as far as odds are on morning line, but I've also seen a few of those swing down. So I take it as an advantage, so I'm not influenced on morning line or public, I guess, expectation. We're going to see how this works out today. So let's go ahead and dig in, my man. We've got 5 races we're going to cover on Saturday. Late pick 5, 10 through 14. So as you said, the marathon card going on. What time do they start at? Like 8 in the morning to get this through, or
Ooh, I think 11:30 ish, right?
it sounds like it's going to be an early start, probably close to 11. I would assume. I'd have to double check the time.
11:30 is first post.
11:30. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's not different. They like to drag out the main races sometimes. They're like 45 minutes in between races.
Well,
So
yeah, because the third race will go off at like 1 p.m. So
right. So it's going to be a long day, hopefully a profitable day. We're going to find out come Saturday, but let's go ahead and get into this 10th race. 10th race is going to be a 7.5 furlong event. It's going to be on the turf. We've got 3 turf events, I believe, in this late pick 5 sequence. It is the Sanibel Island Stakes, a purse of 165,000 for fillies 3 years old. I'm going to go ahead and, as always, give our guest first option. So Barry and race 10, who do you like here?
I landed on the 2-horse Mrs. Worldwide. I really like that last race in the Here Comes the Bride. The horse just missed at 31-1. First time on the turf, really a bang up effort. It seems like this horse is going to just step up after that race. Second time on the turf, probably will run better. Nice workout on March 23rd. Mrs. Worldwide on top, my man.
I like that.
Then uh, I'm going to throw one downfield and use La Cantera for second. I think this horse can rate off the pace a little bit. And I like the 2 races, the first 2 races on the turf. You see the buyers jump up quite a bit in those 2 races, which tells me that this horse has a real affinity for the turf. And I think after that one start this year, even though it was in an optional claimer, really sets this horse up to run big in this spot at a big price. And
Yeah.
then I'll close it out with the 3 Love Cervere. Is real logical in this spot. Ran a really good race in the Ginger Brew, but it's kind of concerning that this horse has been kind of not running. Um, it doesn't seem like they were like, hey, the Sanibel Island is where we want to be.
Yeah.
So it kind of spells to me that either they're looking for another race down the road, or this horse had some sort of issue in between. So I'm going to use that one for third.
Yeah, I like that. I like that pick. They've actually, I mean, they went sprint win at debut, 90,000,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Ginger Brew, second at a mile. So first time going the route. They got these two races basically spaced out by like 2 months. So I guess we're not really, expecting maybe expected something early in March or
Yeah.
would have expected that. I agree with you 1,000,000% on this too. That's my top pick too, Miss
Oh
Worldwide.
wow.
I
There
love
we go.
everything about it. Yeah, I love it when the guests come on. The kid usually sometimes we're like off. We rarely sync or dock together, but when we do, it's good. So when I do with guests, I always like what I hear. So
All
I couldn't
right.
agree with you
Yeah, there
more.
we go. Let's go.
Yeah. So this could
Yeah.
be our single. We'll see how that goes. How many more we team up on, but everything you said, Luis Saez getting the opportunity second time out. I really like the last race. That really was a seller for me. 88 speed figure in that race. Workouts have been decent. My underneath plays do shift a little bit than yours. I do like the 6, Civetta, Irad Ortiz. It's another horse that's been running a lot of non-graded stakes races as well as a few graded stakes races. Been running the route at the turf. I like the workouts actually coming in. Hasn't run since March 1st, but I mean the 46-4 and the 46-4 and the 58, 3 really solid workouts back to back to back coming into this race. So I kind of got my nod here for Brandon Walsh and Irad underneath. And I'm also going to throw in the 4. It's Witchcraft. That's Dylan Davis getting on a horse, getting blinkers for the first time. Last 2 races, non-graded stakes races, seems to be part of the early pace here. I like it better at the distance than I did at the sprint, so I think that could be a pace possibly in the underneath for the try. And I thought the 9 had an opportunity also to hit the board, maybe get a payout. Spirited Boss, first time against Open Company, moving up in class for sure, but the workouts also 46-4 and 47-1 for 4 furlongs. I kind of like those a lot as well. I'm looking for something underneath what seems to be, I guess, from what we're talking about, probably going to be your odds-on favorite with the 2. But it wouldn't be the first time. It's one of these things where this horse was, odds-on favorite on the dirt, and then moved to the turf and was 31-1, and then goes ahead and just misses first time out. So I think the 2 Mrs. Worldwide definitely likes the grass going to be there. Question for you, which I didn't clarify, and I probably should have before we started. Junior Alvarado injured off all of his mounts are right now. Hopefully everything's going to be worked well. Same thing with Tyler Gaffleone with the ankle injury. We've got a lot of mounts here that on my form have listed Alvarado and Gaffleone, and I think you actually took one. Love Cervere also has Tyler. Any idea on what we got for jockey swaps?
No idea. I'd say maybe you might be able to get Dylan Davis, because the 4, it's Witchcraft, should be scratching. So I
Okay,
wouldn't be surprised if Dylan Davis ends up on the 3.
okay, that makes sense. I didn't know the 4 would possibly scratch. Did he recently run, or was there a?
I'm not really sure as to why.
Okay.
I'm like 97% sure that horse is going to scratch.
That's why I get you on the podcast, man. You get all the inside scoop from the
A little
Florida
bit, every once
handicappers.
in a while.
All right, fantastic. So we'll see. I do know, and I thought I read something that Mike Smith would be riding. Is he
Yeah, he's going to be
riding?
in town.
So I think he's going to be riding on Sovereignty. I
Yes.
think. Okay,
Oh,
that is what I said.
no, the Matticat Road. Sorry, he's
Madikit
on
Road. Okay,
Matticat
I knew he
Road.
was
Yeah.
on one of the 2 that we were losing the rider on, but I guess with the seat on race day, who's picking up these mounts? But Dylan Davis would be a good improvement.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the beneficiary of a lot of that.
Yeah, he's been riding well.
Yeah,
These
he's been
to go.
since last year. I mean, last summer basically up until now, he's been pretty good.
Yeah, as soon as he stopped coming on the podcast, he's been great. So I'm not asking him back on.
I know.
We
I
wanted,
see him on Instagram. He's like all over the place, with the golf
yeah,
stuff, and he's doing it, man. He's living it up.
yeah. He's having a good time out there, and I think he's really enjoying himself in the
That's
Florida
good, man.
weather.
That's what life's about.
That's right. you got to enjoy the little things as well as the major things. So things going good for Dylan. I like him. He's a great jockey, great guy.
Good dude.
Let's move on to race 11. Race 11, 7 furlongs, the Army Mule Stakes, purse of $165,000 for 4-year-olds and upwards. Interesting race overall. Where are you at, Barry?
Yeah, I'm going to do something I normally don't do. Is I'm going to take the horse on the rail. How great is Nate? I have under the guise that this horse doesn't want to go long, and they went long basically all of 2023.
Yeah.
And the horse did win at Monmouth going long in the long branch, but I don't really think that that's really what this horse wants to do. I mean, that was a perfect trip that day, and the horse kind of almost blew it and still won.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that they got back to 6.5 last June, which is kind of a concern. The horse hasn't run since then, but the workouts have been excellent. Real steady, a nice bullet on March 23rd, getting ready for this race. I think the pace and the scenario of everything puts this horse in the right spot. Whether he wins or not is another story, but at 10-1, I couldn't resist, had to put him on top.
I like it.
Yeah, then I'm going to throw one downfield slightly too. Again, for second, I'm going to use the 6 of a Revolution. Kind of along the same lines. This horse has been off for a while, getting back into it, off a 2-year layoff or roughly. Came
Yeah.
back August last year, ran a real good race off the bench, then ran okay in the ungraded stake, but I think those races at Oaklawn might be a little bit tougher. And this race is more of this horse's speed, and I think Safi knows that. That's why he's in here. This horse is versatile, could be on the lead, could be slightly off it, or even further back. This horse has a race back at Parks in the Gallant Bob. He was pretty far back,
Yeah.
and it ended up running well. So I expect that one to be okay, especially Safi going to his go-to rider in Edgar Zayas. And then in the third spot, I'm going to use the 5 Gordian Knot. Kind of a speed horse here. Attracts IRAD for Pletcher, and they usually don't like to waste their chances in spots like this. This horse is running with good company, especially local company. You have Dean Delivers in there twice. This horse got beat by Super Chow, who's very fast. Damon's Mound, who's very fast at the time. So we'll put that one for third, the 5.
Yeah, I'm not mad at any of those picks. Now, as I stated, when we're sinking, it's a good thing. I am totally on the opposite side of you on the picks. So it looks like we're going to spread really deep in the second leg. Maybe we're going to have to single that first leg so that we can go deep in this second leg. I'm actually going to go with the 4 in this race. Lightly raced Knightsbridge, and I liked it a lot better when Junior Alvarado teams up with Mott. I love the combination. I'm pretty sure they targeted this race, and we're expecting both to be there. With Junior not there, not that it's going to change much for me on the rider. It possibly could, but it's Godolphin. It's a horse that obviously the last couple races has been really, really good. Now at the end of 2024, grade 3, they gave a little taste. They tried it out in a grade 3 after moving up from National claiming 75 and winning on debut in a maiden 120 and win by 10 lengths. I think there was a lot of good feelings going in. Third by a length, I'm not going to complain trying to make that late move. And then odds-on favorite last time with the Lasix, and didn't really fare well in the optional claim. But I always like that one race debut at the beginning of the year. It's coming off of a 2-3 month layoff. First time out, traveling from Keeneland down to Gulfstream Park. I'll give it a pass. It had the lead. It should have won. Fell a little short at the end, losing to another in here. But the workout coming in 48-3 on March 22nd. That's a nice bullet out of 61 for me. Kind of gave me the nod. So no matter who's riding here, top prime power, I'm going to go with the 4 Knightsbridge to win this race. Underneath, I do like the 5 Gordian Knot for everything you said. It's kind of a classy horse. Was a lot of non-graded stakes race. And I think that the distance here is going to actually bode well here, keeping it at 7 furlongs, moving up a little bit from the 6 furlongs. I like the 2 a little bit. Loco Avario, it's another one similar to your 1. It has been on the shelf here since December. Another good workout, 48-2 coming in on March 18th. This one likes to be near the front of the pace, which I think is going to be an advantage here. Runs a lot of non-graded stakes races. 1-2 back here, obviously at a mile. 7 furlongs, I think, is right in its wheelhouse. I didn't really like the last race, but Alvarado was on the route, and now you're getting Saez. I like Saez, especially on these forward place horses. And then I think I'll also take the 8 and Vale to kind of clean up some of the exotics with Paco Lopez. 98 speed figure last time out. That's career best for this horse. Really, really nice race on debut in 2025 in February. Yeah, it was an optional claiming, but it's run a lot of stakes races, non-graded before, as well as the Holy Bull, and really didn't run that bad. I think it's just getting back into form here in its 4-year-old campaign. I really like that opportunity underneath with the 8. So I guess I'll go 4-8-5-2. You're 1-6-5. We're meeting under the underneath on 5. So we're probably going to have to go, I guess, 6 deep in this race to make sure we're
Yeah,
alive.
one thing I'll say, the reason I didn't use Nightbridge is I'm really confused about that horse. And obviously it's the favorite at 9-5, but you'll notice is the horse had a workout on, or I guess what you would call a serious work on February 8th, and then nothing until March 1st. And granted, that was a bullet. That's why that confuses me.
Yeah.
Then the horse's career in general, it unveils in 2023 in November, comes back in March of 24, and then doesn't run until October. So this horse putting basically 2 races back to back confuses me. I don't know what we're gonna get. I mean, honestly, this horse could run off the screen and nobody touch her, or it could be a bad sign. I'm not really sure. The horse really confuses me. So at a short price, I'll toss horses like that. Not because they're not good enough to win, but just for the fact that I have no idea what they're going to do in this race.
Yeah, it's not your standard blueprint for a
No, that's what I mean.
4-year-old.
It's tough. It's tough.
For a
Tough.
4-year-old getting its 5th career race,
Yeah.
and winning on debut as they did, to put it on the shelf for as long as they did. Listen, they got one race under it at 2-year-old, and maybe they had some considerations on some other options at that stage. It was in November, and maybe they were trying to gear something up for the 3-year-old campaign. But
yeah,
moving
he
into
had a setback. He definitely had a setback
yeah,
of some sort.
right. So they moved to an optional claiming 75,000 condition on winners of 1, obviously other than maiden or starter, and they wins that race by
He
9.
blew him
And
away.
now you're scratching I think they said, okay, it's where we need to be. It's a little bit of a delay. Let's put it in the Perryville, and didn't run a terrible race. I would say not a terrible
No, he
race,
ran really good that race. It's the next one that confused me even
but
more.
they also put that 6 months, in between those races. I think they knew what they had, and they didn't want to rush it along or some.
Sure.
It is weird. It's odd. I'll give you that 1,000,000%. And then to put it back in an optional claiming 62 on debut this year and to not win, it is a big kind of a head scratcher. But I guess I didn't know it was 9-5. I don't like taking chalks, but it made the most sense to me, and
No,
it
he
worked out.
definitely makes sense here. I mean, on paper, this horse lays over this field. He should win. I mean, his
Right.
buyer numbers are just superior to everybody else's in the 4-race sample he
Agreed.
has. It's just a matter of what horse are we going to get. I mean, he's going to run and run well, but is he going to win? Like, you might get a performance like the last 2 where he's right there and just misses. I just didn't want to mess with that at a short price. But
Gotcha.
he has every right to run off in this race and win easily.
Yeah. I mean, and we also have a few, horses that have been running on synthetic and turf predominantly that are sitting on the outside. I don't know if they'll be scratches or not, or if they're actually going to be running in these races, because none of them really show a lot of effort on anything that has to do with dirt. So if the field stays small, I think the odds probably are a little better maybe for the favorite here, but you never know who's going to go and what's going to be pressed in these races. But interesting all the less with Knightsbridge.
I think, at least morning line wise, you might be able to flip flop the 8 and 9, their numbers.
Okay.
I think that's going to be more of what you're going to see, because the 9 is sneaky good. Been running at Woodbine. I guess that's the only knock, because those numbers seem to be a little bit inflated, that you'll see from there. But overall, this horse has a real good body of work. Really only ran 1 bad race in the Mr. Prospector and bounced back out of that one pretty good. But I'm not really sure with that one either. This horse has traveled, likes the synthetic quite a bit, but again, another horse that, if this horse runs well, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Mr. Prospector was at Gulfstream Park, so I haven't seen a lot
But
of these horses.
that field, look at that field.
Oh
Little
yeah.
Vic came out of that field to win on Pegasus Day.
Yep.
Whiteabario won the Pegasus. Um, so it wasn't like he was running against a bunch of tomato cans in that
Yeah.
race.
No, I understand it's not, I'm not downgrading. It's just I haven't seen
Mhm.
predominantly this year more so maybe than previous years. Woodbine shippers doing all that well at Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, it was a
They
trend
haven't
for a
been
while. They were doing
correct.
well, but not anymore. Yeah.
Either they figured it out and now it's not happening anymore, or something's transitioned maybe with the surface or something that's not boding well for a lot of Woodbine horses. But we're going to see. And yeah, that's a head scratcher for me on playing me a tune as well. So I kind of have it there, and we'll see maybe if I put it on the underneath. But it would be a good opportunity for sure. We'll move on to 12th race here, mile and 16th on the turf. It is the $165,000 non-graded stakes race at Sand Springs. First of all, $165,000 for fillies and mares 4 years old and upward. So we spread in leg two. Maybe we can meet back in the middle here for the third leg. Who do you like in this race 12?
I'm gonna throw one downfield again. Uh, we're gonna go with the 3, Vina Arana. This horse's only race in the U.S. was a monster.
Yeah.
In a hand ride, just cruised past a field of decent uh, maidens. Not the greatest maidens, but still, the horse won it very, very easily. The pace wasn't all that quick
Mm-hmm.
and was just superior. And if you look, May 12th, 2024, this horse almost won a Group 3 race. And I think
Yeah.
that matches up really well here. I don't really believe we're going to get 15 to 1 on this horse, but I'd say half that, and I'm willing to take that on top. Then
I like that.
I'm gonna go to the 6 Breath Away. This horse has been keeping really good company. You'll see the Swanee River Stakes 2 back. Be Your Best came out of that race to win the Pegasus Turf. Last time, Saffron Moon, really, really good at Tampa in the Endeavor, and I don't think this horse had a shot. And lost to Venencia 3 back, who finished in front of Breath Away in the Endeavor as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those horses aren't in this race. And if you go back, this is probably a better spot, an easier spot for a horse like Breath Away. And this one was tough for me to keep off the top of the list, but I put him for second. He doesn't really like to win all that much. You'll see the record: 14 starts, 3 wins, 5 seconds, and 2
Yeah.
thirds. So more second and thirds than wins is always kind of a red flag for me. So we'll put him for second. Her, right? That's a her. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
And then we're gonna use the 1 moving on up for third. I think this one falls into a nice trip behind the 2 who will probably go for the lead. And I'm not sure how well this horse finishes. And his last race was his best race to date. I mean, he could definitely step up a little bit, but I'm not totally sure that's going to happen in this race. So I put him for third.
Yeah. Could agree more with you on that one horse on the underneath play. However, I am putting the one on top in this race. I actually really like the one a
Okay.
lot. Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for this horse. I'm looking for back to backs here. I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but sometimes this horse out of Accelerate. I like personally some of the Accelerate horses. I think they get better as they get older. And we're going to the 4-year-old campaign and first time out for this year. I think honestly, with the win, shows the capabilities. At 87 speed figure, I'm actually looking for an improvement on that second time. Now I would know it was optional claiming 62, and we're going to non-graded, but really ran really good at Saratoga in August in a grade 2, and I thought that race alone at that time was, for me, it was its career best speed figure, and we're only two races away from that. And with winning on debut here, just a little more convinced. You got Edgar and Safi. I love the combination. I think this is kind of a sneaky play for the one to actually possibly win this race. Then I have the 3 underneath. It was tough, but then I had the 3 Vina Arana. It's hard to not look at that horse and watch that race and see the ease that horse won. You don't see many horses with 5 starts and the fifth one being a maiden win, and all the rest being group 3s and stakes races previously from overseas. So there's a lot to go with the 3. I think Rosario, this is a perfect mount for Joel and his style.
Mhm.
I think everything just sinks in well for Jack Sisterson in this race. It was tough to put the 1 on top. I would not be surprised if the 3 wins. But I got the 1, the 3. I do love the 6, so we're syncing up on that as well. I think it's a great opportunity also underneath. Again, I'm kind of scared on the run style here, and the run lines keep telling me this is going to be a second or third opportunity for place and show, but I just can't get away from the combination and how the horse has been running. And then I am going to go the outside for my fourth play that could possibly make a little bit of a mix-up, which is the 10 Ocean Club Edwin Gonzalez. We're talking a smaller barn here for Bethany Bumgardner, but you know, the body of work in this horse has been running nothing but grade 2s and grade 3s. Horse is fourthly placed. I think if Edwin, who's gotten the mount a couple of times, lost it to Jose, lost it to Santana, Morales. The horse is traveling all over, but when it's at Gulfstream, this is where Edwin gets his opportunities. And Edwin, he's I really like Edwin Gonzalez. I know that a time when the jockey colony was, I wouldn't say it wasn't was terrible. It's never been terrible, but it was a little weaker. Edwin really got this opportunity to shine. Now you're getting a lot of jockeys that are coming there for the championship meet that, it's more competitive, and Edwin has to really fight for his wins. And he's got 34 for the year, and he's winning at a 50% clip. I think this is a great opportunity for him on a horse he's very familiar with that could also hit the board. So kind of right around with you. I got the 1 on top. Wouldn't be surprised if your 3 wins it here. We both like the 6, and I like the 10 also as a play underneath.
Might have a good day, man. We're gonna have a good
Yeah,
day.
I'm liking the way this is shaping up already. Yeah. We've got 2 to go. We'll jump right in for race 13. This one's going to be a mile on the turf. This will wrap up our third one in the turf in the sequence here. It's the Appleton Stakes, $165,000 purse, 4-year-olds and upwards. I think we're 3 in. We're looking good. We probably got to shrink down this ticket if we're going to do the horizontal to a couple picks or maybe a single. Let's see if we can dock up on this one, and if we're
I
on the
think we
same
are.
page. So who do
I
you
think
like
we
here in
are.
this race? I think so too.
Yeah, I think Major Dude just is superior
Yeah,
here. The only other
I
horse
love it.
that could run that fast is Ice Chocolat, and I don't think that horse can hang at all with Major Dude in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
It's Major Dude and move on as far as I'm concerned. But I will give a nod for second to Roos, who looks like he might fall into a decent trip here and kind of almost like follow Major Dude to the wire.
Okay.
And hopefully they can run 1-2. And I'll use Seminole Chief for third, who's a hard knocker, getting another crack at stakes competition.
Yeah. I listen. I can't get away from the 9. I probably won't. I think this is a great opportunity for a single. You're gonna have to in these sequences. If we're playing pick fives, you got to find the one that you want to throw everything in. This is probably the one you can put in as your single. Shrink down your ticket. It makes all the sense. I don't see the 9 winning at all. You like the 7 underneath and the 5. I've got 3 underneath that I'm going to try to get some prices with. Fly the W, the 2. This horse is 9 years
Oh,
old,
he's the
still
best. He's
trying
a
to
cool
fight. He's a
horse, man.
legend. He's a legend at
21
Gulfstream
wins.
Park. Legend at Gulfstream Park. And it's hard for me to not throw this horse on the underneath portion in a race that we're on the turf, which I think, bodes well. If we're talking synthetic or turf, I'd rather see it on the turf. And I'd also rather see him, at this distance. So I'm going to have the 2 underneath in the play for the exotics. I'll also have the 6 is my outside choice. Abrumar, first time out for this year. Good, decent works, 47-3 and a 36-3 for 3 furlongs. Last 2 speed figures, ending the meet last year in a non-graded stakes race and in the Nashville Derby, grade 3 at Kentucky Downs, 94 and 93 speed figures. So, at 4 years old, getting its top speed figure and now coming in debut, not sure it's going to even be remotely close to being able to compete with a 9. Before an underneath play for Zayas and Safi, I love that. Hopefully the odds play in favor for that. So I've got 9 with the 6-7-2. You got 9 with the 5-7, but we both agree the 9 should be your single. It makes all the sense in the world. I just don't see Major Dude losing.
Yeah, he looks good. Let's get him.
Yeah. Enough said. We'll go finish this up with the big boy that everybody really wants to know what's going on. And that's your Florida Derby, a mile and an eighth on the dirt, of course. Grade 1, purse of $1 million, 3 years old. This is for the points. And then a nice 5-week gap until you go race on that first Saturday in May, the Kentucky Derby. In the Florida Derby, could be the winner. We'll find out. Who do you like here?
Honestly, I like Sovereignty on top here. And I know that's a chalk pick, but it seems like this horse is really ready to break through. I know he kind of did last time.
Hmm.
But another step up would put this horse right at the top of the list. Up there with journalism. It's just running style's a little, you know, I guess undefined at this point, because
Yeah.
I can see even in this race, this horse being a lot closer than he was last time. He really didn't get the greatest of trips, but he's now way on the outside. So Manny's gonna have to cut out something. But the way this race has shaped up, it looks like the three outside horses are the best ones in this race. So that's really where they're going to have to do the jockey thing to kind of get position and make sure they get in front of these two at the end. The horse I'm going to use for second is Tappan Street, and then third, Matticat Road. So 10-9-8, just like that. I'm really another horse that confuses me is Matticat Road, as
Yeah.
to why this horse is running here instead of in Arkansas or anywhere else, or even California for that matter. It was kind of bizarre that Bob ships this horse over here, but there must be a reason for it. I don't expect this horse not to run well, but should be interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead and book the ticket because
Let's
I've
go.
got I've got Sovereignty on top. I think, as you said, the big thing for me is the way the horse is running style. I think it's very tactical. I think depending on where Manny wants to position himself is going to be just fine. Whether he's for, I'd like to see more forwardly placed, get a good gate position out the gate early on, and kind of solidify that stalking trip, sitting on the outside and getting first over. So I'm all about the 10 here. Everything the horse has done, not from the race style, but from the results, has been everything I need to
Mm,
see to say that considered to past Florida Derby winners. Again, the horse is really not 8-10 lengths off. Yeah, on debut he was 10 lengths, but other than that, always been within 3 to 5 or a couple lengths off. I think that that outside position is a big advantage here than trying to get pinched back or getting crowded early and getting stuck at the rail. So 10 all day long for me on top. That'll be my top pick. I do like the 8. I think what I like about Matticat Road is I watched that Rebel and I thought it was a fantastic race, even though having the lead and then losing out at a mile and a 16th, and now we're going a mile and an eighth, and you would just normally think, okay, we're going more distance. The math says it's probably not going to bode well. It's probably going to slow down. But I think convincingly in early on in its career in the Bob Hope in the Grade 3, that was a fantastic race on debut. I
mm-hmm.
think the horse is looking for points, so that's why I'm more in the underneath. I don't think it's going to be the win, but I think some more points to bring it in as it's heading out because it's got enough points in the Derby right now. This is just a nice little prep race. So I'm not seeing Bob send this thing out to try to win it as much as I'm seeing him just try to hit the board. I think it's more of a strategy piece than it is purse money at this point. I'm sure he'll take second and third either, regardless. But the workouts have been great too, so I can't knock the 8 at all. My other place here, Neaquist, the one on the inside. I don't know what it is about this horse, but the first time at a route, I just like the opportunity with a 96 speed figure and losing to Sovereignty. I think, a smarter kind of form of pace here. There's a 47 flat half. Has the inside rail, maybe can get a little of a ground saving trip for the underneath. So I kind of like the one. Safi and Edgar teaming up, tagging for a little bit of a piece of the purse money underneath. Nice 58-4 workout for 5 furlongs too on the 16th. And then I think the 4 disruptor, it's Irad and it's Pletcher, and it's one that I don't want to leave off the ticket because these are the ones that usually come back to bite me when I leave off Irad. Probably won't be the favorite and will probably be at a price, but breaking its maiden here at 94,000 and stretching out, the horse is a very convincing win by 9 lengths. I wouldn't say the field was really great that it ran up against, but I like to see a horse being able to win and draw off in easy fashion. Especially over the same surface that's going to be running for Florida Derby. So probably going to be your rabbit, probably going to try to get a piece of the pie late and probably get past, but I'll keep the 4 on the ticket. So you're 10-9-8, I'm 10-8-4-1.
I would give the 2 Cool Intentions a shot to hit the board here. That horse ran in the Mucho Macho Man where Guns Loaded got the easiest lead in horse racing history and kind of ran off. Almost lost that day, Guns Loaded, and the horse really hasn't come back since. So that was just a lot of things going on in that race. And
Yeah.
I think this horse will appreciate the little bit of the stretch out. So it wouldn't surprise me if this horse makes the number at a big
I
price, a huge price. This horse is going to be big.
so it's out of authentic, right? So there's I mean, I'm a big authentic fan. I was early on in the Derby prep races that authentic won that year. It was a weird year because obviously that was the year the Derby came after the other races, and it was a COVID weird experience. But I love authentic. The breeding is starting to take form a little bit with his prodigies, and I wouldn't be surprised. I did not watch the Mucho Man, so I'd like to go back now after hearing what you had to say on that. The fractions here, 47. I don't think it's a distance thing for the horse, but I'd like to see one more. I'd have to
Yeah,
look
I
at that
would. I
one.
would. I think he was entered to run in another race and scratched
Okay.
before this one, so that might have set him back a little bit. But I see why they're taking the shot. This horse has some talent. I was actually there at Gulfstream when he won that optional claimer 75,000. He looked really good that day.
Okay.
But I think he has the potential to kind of step up a little bit. That's why I say he's interesting in the number, because I don't think he can win, obviously, but I think he's kind of on the rise and may end up like in the super or something.
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know. I'm not mad at that at all. Plus, Javier getting them out here for Jose Delgado. I like that. Those guys team up almost 50% of the money. So when those two, tag along with each other, and Delgado's having, another great year, a decent year. A lot of thirds and seconds, not as many wins, I'm sure, as he'd like to have, but he's got a great barn always at Gulfstream Park. That is your pick five. I think we've got some bangers here that we can go ahead and play this weekend.
Yes,
And
sir.
there's a few chalks sprinkled in, but I think there's a few prices also that could be really advantageous on some of these exotics as we're playing on Saturday.
Oh yeah, I'm excited now. See, we're in lockstep. Most of them. We got a
I,
lot
I
of
like
similar
it.
horses. Yeah,
Yeah,
makes me feel good.
when we're distance, when I have guests on, I'm like, man, what am I not seeing? Maybe I'm not seeing the form the way I should, and it's always good to get that backing and that seeing the same things. That's what you want to know. It's taking a week off too. I got fresh eyes, so maybe that helps
Yeah, there you
out.
go. See, that helps me because I have worn out eyes. I look at this stuff way too much.
Well, we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing the same thing, so I guess it don't
Yeah,
matter.
so that's good. That makes me feel good about it.
Yeah. Are you a couple things today was opening day baseball. How
Oh
are
yeah.
the Marlins looking?
Oof. They're always
Yeah,
iffy.
okay. You don't have to say anything. That facial expression was all I needed right there.
Yeah, they're always iffy. I mean,
Yeah.
Jeter kind of ruined that team and then left. So now they've been in disarray for a while. They had like bad luck too when that kid died, a few years
The
ago,
picture, yeah.
and they've had a hard time since that point. And I don't think it's not going to continue. They're really struggling. So they got to do something eventually. But in Tampa, got to find a home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the attendance last year was abysmal for the
Yeah, they
Rays.
usually don't get very many people there in general. So they
I mean, did they at
proposed a
one
new
point though?
ballpark. They proposed a new ballpark and they
Okay.
turned it down. So I don't know
They're
what
looking to
they're
move.
planning on doing. I know Orlando was trying to get in the running to build a ballpark for them. I don't know where that is because Orlando was trying to get their own team anyway. So we'll see how that happens. But
Okay.
it's interesting. I love baseball. I used to always play when I was a kid, little league, all that stuff, all the way through
Yeah.
high school. So
Yeah.
I was a lot more into it. Um, but I still like to watch games, occasionally.
It's a long season. I
It
love
is.
baseball. I love baseball. I'm a big fan of baseball. Because it's a long season, you get the same thing like in basketball, even though not as many games, but you get player rests, you get, injuries, a lot of things
Yeah.
it's so volatile. Your team can be great, and then especially pitching. Yeah,
Oh,
pitching. Your pitching goes out, you're just
you're
done. It's
done. You're ruined.
tough to rebound. Yeah, it's brutal when you can't stop runs. You can score all you want, but if they get more, obviously, it doesn't bode well if you can't pitch. Um, but I'm a Mets fan. I like the way it ended last year. We'll see if the trend continues. I know they were down 3 runs. I don't think they scrapped a run today, but it's opening day, and it was on the road, so we'll give them a
Yeah.
pass today.
Yeah, we'll give him a pass.
Yeah. March Madness fan or no?
Oh, absolutely. I played
Okay,
college basketball, played pro overseas for about 6 years.
that's right.
So yeah, nah, basketball's cool. You know, it's weird because when the pandemic started, I started watching less college basketball for some reason. I really don't have an explanation why. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the kids were leaving and the quality of play went down. And it also in turns lowers the quality of play in the NBA because you have that learning curve for the new guys, and they're not very good for the first like 4 or 5 years instead of like two
Yeah.
back when we were kids. So the landscape has changed, and now with the NIL and all that other stuff, it makes it
Yeah.
interesting because kids are always moving. Teams are changing, so it's a little harder to kind of keep up with. But the mainstays are who they are. The Kentuckys of the world and the SEC teams and the ACC. So things like that
Yeah.
haven't really changed all that much. So I don't know. I mean, it's a good tournament. It's always competitive, but a lot of chalk this year. Not many upsets, which
Yeah.
kind
And
of is
I
a
think
little
the
bit of a
trend,
downer.
yeah, because we're gamblers. We like the underdogs. We like to pull for the team that, the 12 beating the 5,
Hmm.
which did happen this year. But the big disappointment for me, I'm glad the players are getting paid, and I'm
Yeah,
glad
no, that's
that they're
cool.
getting that opportunity. That's fantastic. The downside for me is, I go back just in the last 10 years, all the one and dones, players coming in 1 year, going to the pros, then they go play G League, and a small
Mhm.
percentage make it to the pros, and the programs suffer because you keep bringing in these freshmen. I'm a Syracuse fan. We keep bringing in freshman
Oh
guards,
yeah,
and 5 years in a row, every guard left after 1 year, whether it was Williams or Flynn the list goes on, and you're just producing these one and dones. It's hard to keep a program lit, and then you got some of the blue bloods like Duke that they may shed one or two one and dones, but they still got 3 or 4 base
they
guys that are
reload.
still there. They run, yeah, they reload, and some of the guys that stay only get better. Those are the programs that do well. I'm not a Duke fan by any means. My wife is a North Carolina fan, so we
Oh,
can't
so
even
you
talk
definitely
about
can't
Duke.
be a Duke fan.
Can't be a Duke fan. But those are the programs that are successful, and that's what you're kind of seeing now is some of these veteran teams returning. Florida's got a good team. Auburn's got a fantastic team player of the year. Duke's got unbelievable players. Going to be going to the draft. You don't see too many players playing with Team USA at 18 or 17 or 18 years old. Like you do with Cooper Flag. So who's your team
Well,
that's going to win it all?
last weekend, and I'm not being a homer by any means, but the best team I saw all weekend last weekend was Florida.
I
So I
agree.
think they might keep that momentum going. They were
I
really
agree.
good.
I picked Auburn to win it all,
Okay.
and I'm basing this
Okay.
purely out of the four or five that I thought were the toughest. I'm hoping Michigan State can make it to a Final Four. I've got them. I got money on them, so I'm pulling for them. But I think Auburn because I'm going really with Pearl and the coaching. Nothing to knock on, second-year coaches and one-year coaches or coaches that have less experience in the tournament. But Bruce Pearl's had it seems like he's coached for every team possible, and now he's falling in Auburn, and he'll probably leave there and go to another program. Same reason why I was pulling for St. John's, and trying to see another maybe victory from that program. And it's just coaching as always comes down to big play in these tournaments. So
Yep. Yep. Izzo does a great job, and he's always a mainstay. He gets his team prepared. He knows how to get there. So you
yeah,
got to give a little bit of advantage to those kind of guys in the tournament.
yeah, that's the only advantage I give out of because the teams are really good. But Florida played really really good last week.
They did.
And I'm surprised they started so slow though, because they're such a fast offense. I feel
A
like
little
they'd
rusty.
have
Yeah,
to
just
offense.
shake the rust off. A lot
Yeah,
of teams do that in the tournament. I hate it because you know they look like they're going to lose to a bum team, and then they just overwhelm them and drown them in the second half. But um,
yeah,
the second round game, they played a lot better start to finish, and I think it's going to just go up a little bit. They'll be good.
yeah. They're focused. I think they're going to do well. I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see all four number ones. The only one I'm kind of hesitant is Houston, which is another one that can't play defense
Yeah, they're kind of
and really
iffy.
just
They
scores.
have their moments where they're not that great.
We'll see, but that, in my opinion, that's also a weaker bracket. I think, in my opinion, maybe Tennessee, but we'll see. Uh, Barry, listen, as always love talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast this
Yeah.
week. You're also doing another podcast now. I know last time we talked, you were kind of dabbling around and kind of figuring out where you were going to be making your next move. I see you're with was it the Wolf?
Yes, the notorious OTB. Yeah, the Wolf,
Notorious
my
one.
guy. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm kind of counterculture, so we kind of do things a little bit differently over there.
Yeah,
But we have fun. We mix in a little music and everything, and we just like to have fun, just like you guys.
yeah,
That's why I enjoy you guys in general on social media and everything. Just a bunch of dudes that's hanging out at the track or at home watching a game or at the bar, and that's the camaraderie that you get with horse racing, and it's so great. Meeting people like you and your family online and stuff like that.
yeah.
This is what it's all about. We like to have fun and talk about the races. That's what we do.
That's what we do. That's all we like to do. I mean, honestly, sports can bring you know uh, people together, families together, and
Absolutely. Look at it, got us together. We're worlds
I,
apart, but
yeah,
right?
but
How many things had to go right and wrong for us to be right here, right now? See?
that's
Look
true.
at that.
That is true. My only regret is that when I was down at Gulfstream last time, I was coming to
I
Tampa.
know we missed each other.
I was driving to Tampa, and it was Thursday, and it was a dark day, and I'm like, why is Tampa have a dark Thursday,
Yeah, they don't run on Thursdays. Just
bro? Talk to me.
never have.
That's your track. Talk to me.
I'll
They
let
never run on
yeah,
Thursday.
I'll hit up Margot and see like, hey,
Okay.
can we do the 4 day week? It'll be all right.
So that was a big bummer because I was looking forward to meeting you up and going on the track, and then I found out there was no racing that day, and I left Friday morning. So, but there'll be another opportunity. I'm sure we'll hang out sometime. But again, if you haven't gone and checked out the Notorious OTB with Barry Sniper Spears, make sure you go ahead and check out that podcast. I keep seeing winners being posted. Everybody congratulating you and thanking you for cashing tickets. Hopefully, they're doing the same for our podcast this week.
You know what's funny about that is I wear you guys sent me a shirt the last time I was on. I wear it quite a bit, and when I go to the store, people are like, who do you like? It's great. It's
Yeah,
fantastic, and I always remember it because it matches my
yeah.
normal Florida Marlins hat. So that's like one of my rotational outfits that I got with you guys. So
I love it, man.
thank you
The
for the
teal
shirt.
pop. No,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. We'll have to send you a sweatshirt. Well, I would send you a sweatshirt, but it doesn't really get too cold down
Nah,
there. But
I don't need a sweatshirt.
we'll get you some other kind of swag, maybe a hat. But yeah, I appreciate that. I think when we came up with it, you can thank Pete Aiello because his greatest calls are always, "Who do you
Oh
like
yeah,
here?" When there's 9 across and it just stuck, and it was like we
that's
constantly would
great.
ask each other, "Well, who do you like here? Who do you like here?" So it made all the sense in the world to name the podcast that. So thank you
Perfect.
for wearing the swag and supporting. Like I said, always appreciate you having you come on, and we'll talk more over the weekend.
All right, man. Let's do it. Let's get this money.
All right, sounds good for myself and Barry for this week for the podcast. Until next week.